Everything.
Everybody know what they chase am. Oh.
That one day. That was every. That was every day.
Know
It's
what
great to.
they chase.
I get. I get. I get to have you around, bro.
Yeah.
All right, Wumi. Good. Good evening. I think you're the only one I can say good evening to. Others are like in the afternoon.
Good evening. Hi. Good
How you doing?
evening.
Good evening. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. And you?
I'm good. Happy Sunday.
Same to you.
Don't worry, I will not ask you if you went to church today because I didn't go, so I don't feel like a bad person.
Ah, no, no, no. It's okay. Oh,
How
why?
was how's the Excel battle been?
Ha. That thing, eh? I had to leave it though after that day that I chatted you up. Because I had other exams, so I was more focused on my exams. So I've not
Oh,
gone back to it after that day. I think it was on Tuesday. So
yes.
I've not been. I had exams on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So that was
Oh,
the reason.
how did it go?
Oh, you said?
How did the exams go?
Fine, fine. Thank God. It was okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Wahala. We are always waiting. The material is always there.
Yes, I'll continue tomorrow, hopefully by God's grace.
No problem. No problem. Thank you very much. I think everybody's available now. First thing
David,
first. Oh, David, that's was David even in the class last week? Because I'm not sure. We just help reach out, Kolajo.
all right.
Yeah, thanks, I appreciate. And let's just wait for David. While we're waiting for David, I must first apologize for having to miss yesterday's class. I actually had
It's okay. It's okay.
no, now it's a
Well,
general. Now it's a
I'm not
general.
even going to lie. I was so happy that we missed yesterday.
Yes, I was
I was,
I was even
I
in
was,
an O1 bear yesterday.
So we are plenty. Nice one, nice one. I think at least now I don't feel too bad. Before I was
Ah,
feeling bad.
Baba feel
that's
bad though.
that's the
Yeah, I was
point.
waiting for your class.
Wow,
Me, I don't
Fleyi,
get
no,
anything where I dey do in my life pass book.
nice one, nice one. No worry, no worry. We go meet for front. We'll meet for front. I actually attended an one bet, a friend's wedding, and I was hoping I could skip because I had to travel down from Lagos to Osun State. So I was hoping I could miss it, but it was really on my neck. So I had to attend. And it
Omo,
wasn't like I couldn't come.
inside this security.
Ah, bro, is where the Lord is our keeper. It wasn't like I couldn't still even know the class, but it was around that 5 o'clock the after party started again. So I can't I couldn't deceive myself. If I was teaching you guys, my mind would be in the after party. So that was why I couldn't attend. So apologies about that. Really, really sorry.
No,
Uh,
no, well. Hello.
uh, yeah, Muchi got on. I can hear you.
Yeah. So the you tell me lecture, right? That I'm doing, right? Eh?
Yeah.
I I have an assignment, and the assignment say that I should write a report. If I'm writing my own report, where should I start from?
What report are you writing? Is it a test report?
Yes,
A test report as is it test plan?
yes.
And
I
what
should
application?
I should write a report about an entire website.
And what website did you decide to want to work on? Because that's like the first thing.
Mm, the gave me the website kitchen.apptools.com.
Let's meet, like, chat me up on WhatsApp. So let's take the
Okay,
meeting out
okay,
after the year. So
okay,
we'll have
okay.
it into the time here. Just minutes. I might go off and come back on. I'm trying to.
Okay.
So David said he won't be able to make it today. That we should try it. Oh,
Yeah. So I'm just gonna share my screen now, so we can just start today's class. Guys, please confirm you can see my screen.
No.
What about now?
Nope.
Okay. Apologies about that. I'm trying to get things set up. Please confirm you can see my screen, guys.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, today we'll be looking at software testing tools. So far so good. I believe we've been going through the various materials we've had. It's very important. I can't overemphasize the need to actually have these materials, and most importantly, not just have them, but constantly studying them. It's very important because all that we need, basically, like I've said in time past, are embedded in all those materials. So we need to actually pay the price. We need to take out our time and study these materials. It's in no time you'll be surprised with how much in 2-3 months what you have done or what you've been able to gather up so far. So please do not underestimate what's it called, what 1, 2, 3 months can do, and especially your 1 hour per day. Sometimes you necessarily don't, if you are typically used to going through the materials maybe 4, 5 hours a day and something came up, you couldn't actually fulfill those 4 hours. If it's just even 30 minutes per day out of your very busy schedule, because I understand all of us can be very busy with work. So I will not enforce or tell anybody that no, it's a must, you must do 4 hours or 3 hours. But at most, even if it's just 30 minutes a day, it still helps keep the brain fresh. It still helps keep the the knowledge you are trying to gather up over time fresh. So please and please, let's be consistent, and it's very, very important. And I know we talked about what were the things we talked about last week. Can anybody remind me, please help me out what we talked about last week? Anybody? Anybody can talk. Oh. I'm waiting. Because I know I sent the slide to us. So please, somebody should help me out. People should
I didn't get that.
Like what we talked about last week. You people are following my hand though. I know we talked about other types of testing now.
What types of testing? Other types of testing.
Yeah. I'm still the one that has to remember myself, but no problem. No problem. I remember we talked about other types of testing, and I dived deep into other types that might not have so much. Yeah, they have so much, but I think I was able to establish their base knowledge or the knowledge we need from them. I remember we talked about smoke testing, we talked about sanity testing, accessibility, and we also extensively talked about localization and globalization. I still remember the questions from Kola Joe, the questions from Uni. We talked about beta testing, alpha testing, one being on the company's premises or the organization's office, while beta is at the end users, environment, where they are currently, where they are located. We also talked about security testing, a whole lot, basically. So I believe with the materials we also have at hand, while going through it, it will help us reinforce whatever has been taught, basically. And like I always say, one of the most important things that the reading does is it helps you build up your vocabulary, the jargons you need to be familiar with in the IT world or in the testing world itself. You might not be able to get a whole lot from the materials you watch, but the moment you read, you start becoming familiar with some of these words, and that's the only place, or that's the only avenue for you to grow your vocabularies, your jargons. Is very, very, very important. So today we'll be talking about software testing tools. Software testing tools generally are tools we use to test the application itself. So outside manually testing the application from the end user's point of view, from the user or the tester's point of view, you testing it manually with your mouse or with the keyboard, testing the application manually. We have tools that can help us test better. And when I mean better, it's not like whatever you do manually is not enough or is not good. Where better comes in is efficiency and time. It helps you save time. These testing tools, they help you save time. Rather than what you would do manually that would maybe require an hour from you. A proper software testing tool should be able to run all programs. I don't know how big or how cumbersome they can be, but what will cost you maybe 30 minutes to run, it shouldn't cost the manual once the testing tool probably maybe 5 or 10 minutes to do. Once all parameters has been put down, once you've been able to build your test script and you have enough test data on the for the application to be tested in 5-10 minutes. In 5-10 minutes, everybody you guys should be able to actually run or execute your test generally on the application itself. So we have different types of testing too. Like I said the last time, different type of testing too also amount to different types of testing. We have load testing, like I told you, that deals more with the non-functional part of the application itself. We also have manual testing that deals with the functional part of the application itself. And when we talked about manual testing, we also largely talked about the user interface, the UI of the application itself. These are the parts you interact with the application itself. So those are the things we put into consideration. These are the things we put into consideration while testing the application. So we are not just testing from the backend side. The backend too, we have tools that handle that, and that is called Postman. It's also used for testing the APIs generally. So those are like the tools we use generally. But now we'll be introducing you to all of the tools, not all of them, but at least the vital ones, the ones that we pretty use that are very common, the most common ones in the industry. Those are the tools we'll be looking at today. So software testing tools are required for the betterment of the application or software. That's why we have so many tools available in the market, where some are open source and paid tools. So actually, there are some tools you use, so especially some automation tools you use, they are open source. Open source generally means they have limited features and they are free. In most cases, they are free. It might not, some cases, they might not even be limited. They could be open source. Anybody can use it. You don't need to subscribe. You don't need to pay to use the applications. And there are a few that are paid tools. You need to actually pay. There's one I used to use for testing mobile applications. It's called Test Project. As of last year, when I was introduced to the tool, it was free. I worked for a company that required me automating their mobile application, and all I did was on the tool. I didn't have to pay. But all of a sudden, I think it was the early part of this year, or towards the end of last year, I got a message that it was no longer going to be an open source tool. It's going to become paid. So we had to start subscribing, make payments to use the application. So it moved from open source to paid tools. So those are the things you'll be introduced with too, when you get on the job and when you decide to move, when you decide to pick up an automation tool. Those are the things they consider. Even while planning, while building your test plan or while having your test plan strategy, those are the things they put into consideration. Those are the things companies put into consideration. Whatever tool you are going to be using, is it going to be an open source tool or a paid tool? Although in most cases, that's not like the first criteria they look out for while picking an automation tool. What we do in most cases is what automation tool we best test this particular application generally. So each automation tool is unique in its way. Its uniqueness comes with what it particularly offers. Some do this more than the other. A few might focus more on this angle more than the other one would probably focus on. So it is dependent on the project you're going to be working on. For example, if I'm going to be working on a banking application, for example, now, if I'm going, there are particular tools I will put into consideration. There are particular automation tools I will want to consider. If I'm working on maybe a social media app, for example, there are some certain automation tools that will first come to mind other than another. So those are the things. After then, you can also consider if it's an open source tool or a paid tool, because some companies might not be able to afford to pay for particular subscriptions, and some subscriptions are done monthly, so they might not be able to sustain what's it called, the payment of such tools. So those are like few factors we consider before we decide on what automation tool to pick. And in most cases, the beautiful part about some of these tools, or most of these tools, is the moment you can use one, you've learned how one works. It's just similar to picking up a programming language or picking up a coding skill, for example. If you've learned how it does, how this particular language does, in most cases, if you're going, it will be easier for you to pick up another language. Yeah, not totally easy, because obviously everything comes with its challenges and all, but there are some concepts you would have understood having used this, which in most cases, in 80%, what's it called? 80% scenarios, it's always similar to whatever any other automation tool is going to be using, or any other programming language would, what's it called, would be using, or would how it will work. So generally, I usually advise is pick one, understand it, understand how it works. Because in most cases, I've had so many times when I jumped on a project where they probably mentioned an automation tool I'm not familiar with. All I have to do is pick it up, and in 1 or 2 weeks, I have a very good understanding of the automation tool. Not, it might not be 100%, but at least I have 70% knowledge on how to use the automation tool, having probably gone through the material on YouTube or in Udemy. So that's how it can be easy. Basically, your understanding of one helps you know how others will work generally. So the significant difference between open source and the paid tool is that the open source tools have limited features, whereas paid tool or commercial tools have no limitation for the features. The selection of tool depends on the user's requirements, whether it is paid or free. With the help of testing tools, we can improve our software performance, deliver a high quality product, and reduce the duration of testing, which is spent on manual efforts. Actually, if you are, for example, asked, why would you pick automation testing over manual testing? The first thing that comes to mind is time. Automation tool saves time. Yes, it might take your time while building, while writing your test scripts, but on the long run, it helps save time, especially when it comes to regression testing. And I believe we still remember what regression testing is. I said it's a testing done on an application to ensure any fix that has been done by the developer has not affected other part of the applications that have been tested. In regression, in most cases, especially maybe you are moving towards the end of the project, and maybe some fixes are made, and you have to perform regression tests on the application. And we are looking at a very complex or a very large application, maybe an enterprise application, for example. They can be very large, they can be very complex. It would be so much work for you to want to perform regression on a very large scale application. But if you have been able to automate over time, all you need to do is, when you are asked to perform a regression test, all you need to do is just execute your test script, and it does it itself manually. What would you it does it itself in the automation, with the automation tool. What will require you to probably test in 30 minutes, because you also need to be very thorough while performing manual tests, in less than 10 minutes at most, depending on how complex and how large the application is and how robust your test script is. In 5 minutes, you can execute your regression test. And what does it do? Or what are the things, or what does even the automation tool itself does generally? All it does is it interacts with the application like a typical user. An automation tool interacts with the application like a normal user would. But in this case, it is the computer that is controlling the application. It is not the user. What it does is it picks elements okay, once I pick this element, I can perform a click button on it. I can perform a double click on it. I can drag this button down. Those are the things automation tool does. So it is just mimicking what a typical user will do on the application itself. So that is what software testing automation tool actually presents. So it helps you save time and effort. And in most cases, what you will probably might not catch, or some of the things you might neglect, some of the things you might that might occur due to human error. In most cases, it would rarely happen in automation testing. So that is why I always tell people, especially those trying to come into the industry or those that have spent quite some time in the industry as a manual tester, I always advise anyone to upskill, pick up an automation tool, learn the basics, understand the tool. Once you're done, use it as much as possible. Work on projects. The moment you can use it, you have worked on a project or maybe a live project, even if it's a demo project, there's a level of confidence that comes with it. It will be very easy for you to pick up another tool because they all follow the same pattern. And it helps you save time, it helps you save effort, it helps you manage effort. And in most cases, it even gives you an edge while applying for higher roles or higher jobs, higher paying jobs in the QA industry. What I will pay in most cases, what I will pay a manual tester will be different from what I will pay an automation tester. Because an automation tester presents more. In most cases, he has had prior experience being a manual tester before he now moves or he upskills to a level of an automation tester or an automation engineer, basically. So I always advise that at probably me, I started after 3 months, or I think it was 3 months or 4 months after I started off as a manual tester. I had picked up an automation tool and I learned it for like 2 months thereabouts. I was opportune to work on my first project, and that was the beginning for me. So that's like always the advice I give to new QA engineers trying to come into the industry. The software testing tools can be divided into the following. We have the test management tool. We have the bug test management tool. One of the tools for a test management tool is what Faye mentioned, which is Jira. It could be used for tracking bugs as a bug tracking tool, and it could also be used as a test management tool. We have bug tracking tool. Instead of the Excel sheet we use to report our bugs, there are some companies that have what's it called, bug tracking tools. An example is Bugzilla. We even look at some of the examples. They are listed there. They help you track bug instead of having you to have an Excel sheet where you need to enter all of the details into the boxes and all of this. It can be very cumbersome. It can be very boring, and you could even be liable to mistakes and all of those things. And a few of us, I'm sure, are not conversant with Office what's it called, suite. So in most cases, a few companies use bug tracking tool. It helps them track any bug. Once it has been fixed, you get a notification. You retest. If the issue still pends, you send it back. You change the status to open. The developer gets the notification. Once he's done fixing, it moves the status to done. You test. Once it has been fixed, or you need to just move the status to resolved, and that is it. So that's how easy it helps you even track whatever issues that has been recurring because everything is saved on the tool itself. We also have automated testing tool. We have performance testing tool. And I remember we talked about performance being non-functional, and some of the non-functional testing we talked about was load, stress. We talked about spike testing, basically. We also have what we call cross-browser testing tool. We have what we call integration testing tool, unit testing tool. I remember I talked about unit testing being performed largely by the developers. We also have mobile/Android testing tool. We have GUI, which is graphics user interface testing tool, and we also have security testing tool. Any questions so far, guys? Before I move into each tool itself, do we have any questions? I know a few of us might have a few questions at heart, maybe via the materials you've read or videos you've seen. The floor is open. You can ask your questions. I'm waiting. Any question? Okay. If there are no questions, I'll continue. So we move to test management tool. Test management tools are used to keep track of all the testing activity, fast data analysis, manage manual and automation test cases, various environments, and plan and maintain manual testing as well. Basically, a test management tool does everything. In it, you have your test plan. In it, you have your test reports. In it, you have your test cases. In most cases, you have your test case. It does everything. So instead of having to share documents online and all of those things, there's some test management tool that will help you manage the whole system itself. It helps you manage the whole flow. Oh, these are the test cases that are under development. These are the ones that have been executed. These are the number of failures. These are the number of pass. The test management tool does all of that. The test management tool is connected with the automation software. These types of tools add various strategies for testing and multiple sets of features. Some of the test management tools add capabilities to design the test case with the help of requirements. It is best for test managing, scheduling, defect logging, tracking, and analysis. First, it is best for test managing. It helps you manage the whole process. It helps you manage the whole process. And it's so beautiful that if it is well set up, a few of them even gives you notification once there's any change on what you're working on. It sends you a mail or it gives you a notification, a pop-up notification, and you can always, attend to it. The test management tool is also best for scheduling. Scheduling could be, oh, this is what we're going to be doing in the next 2 weeks. It helps you plan it out. It helps you map it out. Another thing that it does is defect logging. It helps you log defect. Okay, the moment I'm testing this application and I stumble on one of this, or maybe a defect or a bug, I could always report it on it and assign it to the developer on the management tool, other than having to write it on my Excel sheet and calling up on the developer. But once I report it on the test management tool and I tag the developer, he gets a notification that he has been tagged to a ticket, so he can work on it. So that's how it helps manage all of the processes, basically. Some of the most commonly used test management tools are as follows. We have Quality Center, we have RTH, we have TestPad, and we also have Test Monitor. I'll be moving to the next slide, which is the bug tracking tool. The defect tracking tool is used to keep track of the bug pieces and ensure the delivery of a quality project and quality product. These two can help us to find the bugs in the testing stage so that we can get the defect-free data in the production server. With the help of these tools, the end users can allow reporting the bugs and issues directly on their application. Bug tracking tool generally just helps you track all your bugs. Okay, what bug did you report? Who has it been assigned to? Each bug also has status, like I said, from the open to the fixed to the retest to the tested to the close and all of those things. He all has stages. He all has phases, basically. So the bug tracking tool helps you manage all of those things. And a very good example of it is Jira. At least that is like the most common one I think many people work with. It's also now dependent on the company itself and what it determines we want to use. basically. But in larger cases, larger instances, Jira has always been the go-to test management tool, and also for bug tracking tool. Generally, it helps you. It gives you notifications and all of that. You can tag anybody that is in the team itself, and all of those things and more. So it basically presents you that opportunity to help you track all the bugs, from the open to the testing to the retest and to the close. We'll move to automation testing tool. In this type of tool is used to enhance the productivity of the product and improve the accuracy. We can reduce the time and cost of the application by writing some test case, some test scripts in any programming language. The automation testing is used to change the manual test cases into a test script with the help of some automation tools. We have various types of automation testing tools available in the market. Some of the most commonly used automation testing tool as follows. So in all of this that I've listed out, they are majorly for what's it called? Web browsers. Selenium is for web browser. Selenium is for web browser. Cypress, which I use, is for web browser. And in most cases, they are more profound for testing UIs of an application, other than the backend of the application itself. So when you see things like this, they basically test web application. They test web applications. It could be Cypress, it could be Selenium, it could be QTP, and all of those things generally. And what do they do? Like I said earlier, they pick elements. They interact with the application itself, and anything you see on an application is an element. From everything you see, they are all elements. Elements are how they are written in in code, in programming. All they need to just do is pick the elements and tell what they want, and tell the computer whatever they want to do on the element itself. So it helps make your work easy. If you can go through the stress of automating the system itself, it could be very, very easy to pick up and understand. The next one is performance testing tools. I remember I talked about JMeter and how it worked. When we have to measure the load stability response time of the application, we required some performance load testing tools, which helps us to test the performance of the application, of the software or an application. Performance testing tools can be open source and commercial. We have various types of performance testing tools available in the market. Some of the most used performance load testing tools are as follow. One, we have Apache JMeter. Like I said, I hope you all know, or we remember at this junction, it should be a matter of remembering what load test is and what stress testing is. A typical tool you will use to perform that action is called Apache JMeter. It helps with load testing, basically. It helps you to test, if I simulate 10,000 users on my website, let me see how they would handle, or how the whole thing will pan out. Will it crash my system? Will I be able to undo the pressure? Will I be able to do what I need to do, and all of those things put into consideration? So that's what JMeter does. It helps you simulate, instead of doing it real time and getting a bad effect. Let me rather just simulate the action. Basically, let me simulate maybe 1,000 or 10,000 users using my application concurrently. How will my application react? What would happen to it? So those are things you put into consideration while using this particular tool. It helps save stress, and most importantly, it helps do the job itself. So we also look at cross-browser testing. When we have to test our application on multiple browsers, we need cross-browser testing tool. These tools will help us to ensure that our web application is working fine across the various browsers. This tool will take place when both server side and client side are accessing the web application in multiple web browsers. With the help of this tool, we can perform compatibility testing through various browsers for our application. Sometimes testing a software in a single web browser is not enough. That's why we need the cross-browser testing tools. I hope if you of us understand that there's some applications that would turn out in a particular way, and once you open that same application on maybe another web browser, it's looking way different. So those are the things. This is what cross-browser testing helps you manage situations where I'm building an application and I have to test that the applications, if it is used on a Chrome account, it works. If I use it on a Mozilla Firefox, will the same application work itself? So those are the things they put into consideration while working, while testing the application across different browsers and see how it reacts. So testing performed as such is called cross-browser testing tool. And these are the listed tools in the market. We have Lambda Test, we have Source Labs, we have cross-browser testing, we have Browser Stack, Ghost Lab, and Browsera. So those are things we put into consideration for browser testing. We have unit testing. So unit testing tools, we have to authenticate the particular module or unit of the code. I remember still talking about what unit testing is and who is supposed to perform it. So in this case, when we have to find and authenticate the particular module or the unit of the code, we need the unit testing tools. With the help of these tools, we can build secure design and documentation and decrease bug count. Generally, unit testing is a manual process, but now some of the organizations have automated the unit test with the help of these tools. By using these tools, this testing tool, we can cover the maximum coverage, performance, compatibility, and integration testing. All the unit testing tool is implemented as a plugin for the Eclipse. Eclipse is what we use for for Selenium. So yeah, unit testing tools are used by the developers to test the source code of the application or to achieve the source code of the application. Following are the most commonly used tools of unit testing. I think we should probably not bother ourselves too much about this. Yeah, maybe bother because of how complicated things can be in certain industries or certain organizations. But in the long run, in a proper setup, these are jobs that are performed by the front-end developer working on the project itself. They get to test the application, they get to test the module of the application. So those are the things they put into consideration, basically. We'll also be looking at mobile testing tools. To test the mobile application, we need the types of tests. We need these types of tools, which will help us to check the usability, functionality, security, and consistency of the application. In the current scenarios, the mobile applications are widely used over the Android and iOS platforms, which enhances the client's reliability towards the applications. So here we will understand some of the best tools of mobile testing, which are as follows. Basically, any application you have on your mobile phone, it can be automated. I can automate it that I will click on this button, click on the next button, delete this, and all of those things. There are tools for that. As much as we have the tools for the web browsers, where we can interact with the web application, we also have testing tools for mobile browsers that helps you test the mobile application, basically. So here we will understand some of the best tools of mobile testing, which are as follow. The most popular one is called Appium. Appium is like the most popular, mobile testing tools. That's like the most popular itself. So that's how wide or how vast quality assurance engineers can be. So sometimes in the basics are not what it eventually would continually be like. At some point, there will be need for modifications, there will be need to upskill. So while moving into the journey of upskilling, these are some of the things you would be, what's it called? These are some of the things you'll be exposed to generally. These are some of the things you'll be exposed to generally. So move to the next. So I think that's all for that. Yes, that's all for that. Basically, it was supposed to be a 2 class. That was just the year and today, but this is like the whole point of testing tools generally. By next week, we'll be introduced to the testing tools, and during the week, I'll also be passing out our assessments. Well, this website. Apologies once again about that. There's so much on my plate currently, but now I'm a bit free. I'll be starting up a new job this coming week, so I believe the load and all of those things should not be too much on my neck. So I'll have enough time to prepare that, and I'll put it across to us on the group. So by chance, your questions are welcomed, guys. Wumi, Feyi, Kolajo, Toyo, Godson, or was I too fast? Or is there anything you don't understand? Anything outside the class that's pertaining to QA generally? Maybe while reading, you can ask your questions, please. Wumi, I'll be expecting from you, Feyi, Kolajo, Toyo, and Godson. Okay, let me start with Wumi. Wumi, any question from your end?
No, I don't have it.
Was it well understood?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Feyi, what about you, man?
So far so good.
Are we good?
Yeah.
Because I almost wanted to say Konibaje. When you say no problem, bro. Kolajo, are we good?
Yeah. I think we're like at least for now. Well, quick one. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. I wanted to. It's just this is just like a quick discussion. All this to use mobile testing, all this Apache JMeter, do they all have their own repositories like GitHub and all that?
Not really. They really don't. Yeah, if you do, but some of them are standalone tools. You need to install them on your system. For example, a JMeter that is used to perform performance testing, you need to install it on your application, on your on your laptop, on your device. And some of these tools are they are more like extensions. A few of them are also used on a few of them are like your typical React or maybe your typical JavaScript. They are like programs too. If, for example, now if I'm going to write Cypress, I need to have at least basic knowledge of JavaScript, and I need to have my VS Studio, my IDE, where I'm going to write my test scripts. So for Cypress now, it's not a tool per se, like maybe an application I need to install on my system. So does that answer your question?
Okay, so it's not all of them that have repositories.
No, not all of them. A Cypress, for example, will have, but maybe an Apache JMeter would not, because it's a standalone tool. It's standalone application itself. So Does that answer your question? Any more questions from your side?
Yeah. I just wanted to, it just came to my mind.
No problem. Toyo, any questions from your end, from your side?
No, I'm good.
Godson, any question from your side?
Right now, I'm good.
Okay. So guys, I would be sending it by Tuesday or Monday or Tuesday. Let me say Tuesday, because Mondays can be very busy. I will send out the demo website you're going to be testing, and what I'll be expecting is your test case. And let me see, probably maybe a bug sheet too. But all I would be requiring is your test case. And for your test case, I don't know the application yet, but it is I will even state out the modules or the pages you're going to be preparing your test case for. Maybe it could be, if it has a login page, I'll be expecting a login test case, test case for the login page. If it has maybe a particular module, maybe a management module, I'll be expecting test case for that particular one. If in case you don't have any test case sample that you could use, reach out to me. I will share you a particular one you could use to prepare it. But I want it individually, and it will be done on Google Docs. That's like Google document, because it allows you to share any document you have worked on. So hopefully by Friday, or at most Saturday morning. No, I think since we are not even on the same time zone, by Friday, I think all things go well, you guys should be able to send in your feedbacks or your assessments. I will try as much as possible to send it out on Tuesday or Monday, or Tuesday on failing, Monday tentatively. So by Friday, I should get a feedback. So by Saturday, our next class on Saturday, then we'll be able to diagnose, be able to see where the mistakes are. But please still go back to the material on test case, all the materials you have with you, on how to write a precise, clear test case. Read up on it, understand it, watch the YouTube materials, the YouTube videos. What are the do's and don'ts of preparing a good test case? Factor that into whatever you're going to be writing or preparing, and let's see how it goes from there. The job has started already. It's not more than that. Or yeah, it can be more than that, but at least for the onset, for the people trying to come into the industry, is really not more than that in most cases. So let's put that into perspective, and let's see how it goes from there. Yeah, I think that would be all from my end. Any other thing from any person? Kolajo, were you able to reach out to David?
Yeah, I said it before we started the class that he said he won't be able to join us today. He was in the middle of something and he won't be able to join us.
Okay, no problem. And for a few of us that are yet to probably maybe complete our balance, please, God will provide. Provision is made available. Please, let's do well to what's it called, make payment, so that we can have access to these recordings. It's always advisable in most cases to still fall back to these recordings, especially when you're trying to prepare for interviews and all of those things. Outside what I will have structurally on the slide, I'm sure I still try to talk about a lot of things that happen in the testing world or in the IT world generally. So our classes is not just slide based, it is general based. It is the whole IT space based generally. So please do well to make payments, and so you have access to the slide. And most importantly, I pray that provision is made available. Thank you very much. One last time, is there any other question before we call it a day? I know it is pretty short. A few of us might be saying it's supposed to be 2 hours. The reality of things is, it's not about how long, it's about how efficient these things are. I could bore you up with 2 hours and it becomes boring. But I could also be very precise or concise, give you what you need to move fast, basically. So even the hours we have left, we could still you could use it to read up. A few of us had had a lot on our plate this week, and we couldn't study. So we still have like some few minutes or few hours left. We could take out that time to actually go through the material. See, we move. What's it called? Pick up from where you stopped, and let's see how it all goes. Thank you very much. Have a beautiful week. Yeah, Fiyamuchu.
Just like we'll be doing a demo manual testing, we'll be doing like a demo software testing too. I'm sorry, automated testing too.
The truth or the reality is, it's almost impossible to learn automation in 2 weeks or in 1 week. I would have loved to, but in most cases, it's always like a standalone 3 months on its own. And outside that, I could even give, because what we'll be doing is just introduction to some of these tests and to these tools. I will do an introduction to a web tool. I'll do an introduction to a performance tool, which will be JMeter. I'll do an introduction to a backend to an API testing tool, which is Postman. And you have like 1 week intervals before you do the next two. So it's almost impossible to learn how this thing work. But there are courses I could also refer to you. There are courses I could also share with you where you can, okay, this is what I want to learn. Maybe I start with a mobile, a web tool. I could advise you on which you should learn first, which is still easier to comprehend, and you could learn that in maybe a month or two. It depends on how much time you invest into these things. Most times it's the first that might look the hardest. The moment you've been able to pick the first, you understand how it works. Picking another one will not take you, learning the next one will not take you as much as the first itself. So it's dependent on time. Does that answer your question for you?
I was thinking of like maybe we can also have some sort of practicality with the automation.
Yeah, I will show you. I will do it, and you will see. You see how it is done. Obviously, I will not just teach when I'm doing it. The day I'm doing it, we will have a live demo. I will show you how it works, how to pick an element, and all of those things. How to automate maybe Facebook login or a Google page, for example. I would probably automate it, enter a particular word, and click on the search button using an automation tool. So I would obviously show that in the class itself.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other question, guys? Wumi, Kolajo, Toyo? Good, son. Are we fine? Are we good?
Yes, we're good.
Okay, thank you very much, guys. Take care and enjoy the rest of your day and have a great week. Very important. Have a great week.
You also. Thank you. Bye bye.
Yeah, bye. Kolajo, bye. Wumi, take care.
Yeah, goodbye.
Coca-Cola Joe.